welcome to the show. Today we have two great guests. We're going to get sexy with Lorena at the Living Center. We're going to get in touch with our sexy side with nature. I'm not sure how that's going to happen, but also too, we have Andre from Yogi Bears, and we're going to get naked with him, do some stretching naked yoga. We'll be right back. Welcome to the show, and today we've got a great guest on, Lorena Busquet-Casera, and she practices the shamanate, the medicine,
Shamanu
Earth Wisdom teachings at the Living Center, just outside of London, Ontario. It's really great to have you here.
Well, welcome to the Living Center.
Yes, it's beautiful here. It's really awesome. So, just if you want to just give the viewers just an overview of just your practices of the shamanu and how it relates to nature and connecting that energy to sexuality.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I think that sexuality is born out of nature, obviously.
Right.
And what we do at the Living Center, we're an eco-spiritual education center, and the focus of our work here is really about helping us through the shamanu work, the shamanu Earth Wisdom teaching, something that I've developed over the last 25 years, is focused on helping us to remember our ecological roots, that and how that relates to sexuality.
Okay.
Is, you know, we're living at a time where we are so disconnected with nature,
Right.
that we've created, quite a challenge before us.
How did we disconnect from nature? I mean, how does that just being urbanized, metropolitanized? Like
science, the original, I mean, not the original science, but the Newtonian science that came along a few hundred years ago really started to identify nature as commodity. And this is something we've carried forward. The new sciences of living systems are beginning to show us that, in fact, everything is interconnected. In fact, everything is seeking communion and union.
Right.
In fact, we are one with all of life.
Right.
And we've forgotten this.
Right.
And in the forgetting of this, we've disconnected from our bodies, we've disconnected from our sensuality,
Right.
we've disconnected from our sexualities, and now we're looking for ways to fill in this gap.
Yeah, we're reaching out in other areas.
Yeah.
Finding other props, finding other
That's
tools. That we're spending a lot of time finding sexuality again when it's really right here in our roots.
It's what
we were born with it. We like babies.
Yeah.
Run around naked.
Yeah.
And have no qualms about it.
Yeah.
So I mean,
the universe,
finding it.
if we watch, the shamanu work helps us to reconnect so we can remember how to live.
Right.
So,
What does this whole environment of just getting back into nature again, what does it actually do for our sexual energy and just our sensuality? What can you describe?
it wakes us up.
Okay, so waking up meaning
Meaning
we get like aroused? Like how describe it.
Well, I see sex as more of a lifestyle.
Right.
Sex is not something that just happens in the bedroom. It's the way we live our life. It's the way we interconnect.
Right.
It's the way we. I believe that the foundation of all of life is union. It's following our allurements. And I mean, just look at it. I mean, we're always being attracted to something, to someone.
Right.
In the industrial growth consciousness has tried to separate us from that. So, as we move back into practices, and the shamanu work helps us through what I call primordial movement, breath work, dancing, and we really focus on the dance of the elements, reconnecting.
Right.
And what it does is it awakens the life energies that we already are, bringing us back into attunement with the natural rhythms of
Is
life.
it more intense if you did it, let's say, practice it naked with nature, the wind blowing through your body? Like,
Well,
is it
yeah,
more
I
of an
mean,
awakening if you did that?
of
I mean, I do it
course.
all the time.
Yeah.
I did it when we talked before about Costa Rica and how I discovered my sexuality down there.
Right.
Okay. I totally get what happened down there. Huge transformation, and that's why I need to be in nature. I get what you're saying.
Well, that's why all of our workshops and our trainings are in nature.
Right.
Our classroom is out here.
Right.
We used to teach in the winters in Costa Rica
Right.
for 7 years, my husband and myself. And the first time I went down there, I didn't realize how dried up I had become.
Yeah.
So what is it? You know what? I said, well, what is it about Costa Rica? It's the rhythm, it's the fact that nature still dominates the energy field.
Right.
So how do we create that here? How do we return to? I mean, you spend time. Why do people go to the tropics?
Right.
Because it's lush. It's
Right.
lusty.
But little do they know what's happening.
That's right.
They're reaching to connect. But there's more to it than that.
Yeah.
If they stayed in that environment
Yeah.
longer, they would really
So
start to really
it seems
waken
that
up.
we're really what we're trying to do is trying to find our fulfillment
Yeah.
through a partner or
Right.
many partners. And from our experience, it will not happen.
Right.
It will not happen until we reclaim our connection with what we're born from.
Right.
Air, fire, water, earth. I mean, that's sexy.
Yes.
That's lush. I mean, we've been waiting here for how long? The last 2 hours
Gorgeous
to set up
here. It's
this
just the energy's
interviews so
just
that because
vibrant.
it was, I mean, the rain was pouring. You know, it was just, it's where the juice is.
I like it.
And we dry up when we're not connected.
Right.
So it's doing practices that are specific to this. It's taking time. Chantry and I, my husband and I, head out to, actually, we've set up our tent, and we spend most of the summer in our tent, just so that we can wake up with the sounds of
Right.
the birds and the pond and hear the rain.
Right.
You know?
So people that don't have the luxury of living in this type of environment and they have to go away on vacation, if they're in the city, they're in the condo, they're downtown Toronto or wherever, downtown, whatever, how much time would you suggest to keep a balance? Because we can't all live this way.
No, I know, I realize that.
You know? A week.
The shamanu work actually started for me when I lived in Toronto. And it was through the primordial movement, which is the original movement of life. It's based on a deeply sensuous movement
Right.
called the wave motion.
Yeah, I watched too.
Yeah. And little did I know that as I was doing that, along with the breath work and the dancing of the elements and the rituals, the
Right.
earth rituals, that something was coming awake in me. So you can do this anywhere.
Yes, you can.
And that will guide you to, like, I knew at a certain point I needed to get out of the city.
Right.
And I met my husband.
So you can turn it on anytime.
Absolutely.
Yeah, you can
Yeah.
get naked and just do a primal movement.
Well, you don't need to be naked. You don't
Well,
need.
I do.
Well,
That's because I know the sexual energy. I know it just lives right
You
there
need
on the
the
surface
sun
of the
on your-
skin.
I know.
I need it.
It is, I
So,
know.
but let's not do that. We're not going to do that. But to start off, just
No, I'm
get
just
primal
saying for-
with movement. Leave your clothes on.
well, I'm saying a lot of people wouldn't even feel comfortable with that. I mean, when there's nobody around here, yeah, you bet I'm as naked as I can be.
Yeah.
Because we need the touch of the wind.
Right.
We need the feeling of the sun on our skin.
Yeah.
We need to breathe it in. We need the water to help us to remember who we are and why we're here. I mean, we've commodified sex just the way we've commodified nature.
Right.
And that is why, in my opinion, the the challenges that we're having right now on the planet, the feeling of being lost and unrooted,
Yeah.
the seeking sexual fulfillment in ways that will, not fulfill us.
Yeah. It's the darker energy that people are because this is what they think. It's an external stimulant.
We know deep in our souls that we are deeply sensuous, erotic beings. And yet without that communion with nature, which can happen anywhere, because you know what? You're always breathing.
Yeah.
That sense of the erotic, that awakening of the Kundalini energies,
Right.
the awakening of feeling home. Like how is it possible?
Once you wake that up, you can like keep going, and it activates, and it gets more. You get the energy keeps. It gets higher and
Well,
more
of course-
vibrant.
of course
and
it
you're
does.
reducing the aging process. Everything you start. It's a huge energy.
It's very huge.
It's
I'm
huge.
65 this year, and
No.
and
Oh.
and it is
That's pretty,
through the
amazing.
practices and eating
Inspiration.
well.
Yeah, it's a lifestyle. The whole philosophy behind the sensuality is a lifestyle. Thanks for joining me on the show. It was awesome having you
a
here,
pleasure.
Lorena. And
Thank
take care. We'll
Yeah.
be back right after this. Welcome back, and today we're with Andre Cardis from Yogi Bears Naked Yoga Center. I've explained a little bit about this intriguing place
Sure.
where we get naked and
Where we
stretch.
get naked and we
Yeah,
do
I wanna
yoga. So I started Yogi Bear back in December 2013, so just a couple months ago, really.
Cool.
And with the intent of having nude yoga for myself, really, because I had gone to a couple of places. I had gone to Montreal about 2 years ago when I got laid off. I was spending my severance pay, and I thought I'd love to go and explore that part of myself a little bit more. So
Right.
I started Yogi Bear in part for myself in terms of finding something that I didn't find in other places.
Right. Cool. And so is this like unisex? Can men and women join together and get naked?
They could, but we had all gender classes, is what we called them, or co-ed classes. We weren't attracting a lot of women, and we got some straight guys. And I find that, given our culture, there aren't a lot of people yet that are mature about their nudity. And
Still? Honestly, I
Still.
don't get that.
No, I think it's gotten worse in some way. In some ways, it's gotten. It's like the society's getting polarized. There's people that are becoming more and more uncomfortable with their bodies,
Wow.
and really sexualizing the experience.
Okay.
So men, I think some straight men want to come to nude yoga to see naked women,
Right.
which I think is okay if you could also be there for the yoga,
Right.
not just for the. And it happens with men and gay men too, right? Like they go. I think a lot of people come for the first time and they're like, "Oh my God, I'm going to see a whole lot of penis,
Right.
a whole lot of naked men," which
Well,
you do,
you take a peek.
of course, and that's fine. And I think we should be comfortable giving each other attention.
Right.
And I think the question of creepiness comes in, for me at least, when you have some kind of intention that's not being expressed.
Right.
So I'm not telling you that I find you attractive, or I don't negotiate our relationship.
Right.
I just take.
Right.
So whether that taking is a looking, a touching, that's I think what becomes creepy. And I think those are behaviors that are learned and can be unlearned.
Wow.
So I think a lot of us are kind of creeps to ourselves. Like we're not.
How do we unlearn that?
Comfortable.
I mean, I'm a nudist. I'm not
Are
a
you?
nudist, but I mean,
You like to be naked.
yeah, and
I do too.
I've just lately taken up myself, just on my own, just throwing the mat out and just taking my clothes off. As soon as I get to the studio and when I'm at work, I rip them off and I just do my stretching. I have to. I can't even do it with a class anymore that has closed, you know?
I find it's more restrictive, and the questions I get often are, well, especially for men, doesn't the junk get in the way?
Yeah,
And I kind of feel like our bodies were designed in a way that it mostly doesn't.
right.
I mean, once you start having closer to an erection, some of the moves towards the ground might be uncomfortable, but I think
You think?
it's things that you manage.
Well, you manage.
I now prefer doing yoga naked, because I sometimes when I'm in class, like I'm getting sweaty, and then it's clinging, and then my shirt's lifting a bit, and I'm pulling it down again, or I'm doing, you know, a headstand or shoulder stand, and the pants are coming down a little bit.
It's ridiculous. They're overrated. Clothes,
And you have to pay for them, and you have to clean them.
Honestly.
That's the best. I'm never unprepared for class.
Yes, me. Dress with less.
You're dressed with less.
So do you get couples that come?
Yes, I do.
And do you find that do they come back and do they express a little bit how the relationship has changed since they started doing it?
Well, one of our philosophy. So we do partner work as well.
Cool.
So on Thursdays it's nude yoga, but it also has partner work.
Right.
And then on Tuesdays we're just doing the regular yoga.
Right.
Nude yoga. And one of the reasons is we like, what I like about it is that when you're stretching or bending or moving with another person, you have to negotiate that. You should be negotiating that experience. We encourage people to tell their partner, you know, harder, softer. You're not doing it right. Do it a little bit lower. Communicate, because those are the same kind of skills you need while in life, but also in any kind of relationship.
Exactly.
Especially an intimate one.
Especially. Crucial.
So we do the nude yoga. We want to do more tantra and massage and sex education. That's kind of the whole thing.
So this tantra thing, this is a huge label. There's a name out there now, and it's huge. It is blowing up, out of proportion, almost to the point where it's saturated. And I think that there's a misconception about what tantra is. So just kind of familiarize our viewers of the tantra and what the lifestyle actually represents.
Right. So that's a good
for couples.
That's a good way to introduce it. Tantra is not just about sex, the sexual act, and intimacy. It's about how do we live our lives intimately. So you could say yoga is part of a tantric practice.
It is.
Ayurvedic medicine and eating is part of a tantric practice. And then, of course, the movement and actual touch and physical act and bringing mindfulness into an area which really isn't mindful for a lot of us is where we most associate. We most associate it with sex, right? Tantra.
Yep.
And in what we're doing with Yogi Bear, we're trying to bring that into different physical modalities. So awakening all the senses when we're doing yoga. So can we create an environment where there's smell, sight, touch, you know,
all the elements,
all the different senses, and awaken them.
Right, absolutely. So there's different types of yoga.
Yeah.
I mean, I've heard it's overrated with all these labels again. Like Tantra yoga, Kundalini yoga, there's classical yoga, there's
Ashtanga, Hatha,
so
Vinyasa.
What's the difference between the yoga that you present and as opposed to the classical, just regular stretching, and just differentiate a little bit. Kundalini, Tantra yoga, and just the classical yoga. I mean, do you know about those three yogas, and are they?
I think
are they similar?
You're hitting upon part of it. Like with labels, they're misleading in the fact that they're not altogether that different. And I think that each type of yoga tries to accentuate something different.
Right.
So with Kundalini, you're trying to raise your vibrational energy and the energy of, a lot of people say, of it working through your different chakra centers from the root up to the crown, and that can be part of the awakening and that energy and that practice. So there's a practice that's just about using yoga to awaken that. You don't have to use yoga. You can use other ways to awaken that energy.
Right.
Tantra again is mainly about being mindful. So in some ways, it's you don't even have to use that label necessarily. Yoga should be intrinsically tantric, but if you're trying to awaken more of the sexual energies, then you can put more of a focus on those positions that activate that chakra, that power center of sexual energy. So through the way that you breathe, right, and building that up, like
the breath is really
really getting into that.
We lose
motion.
breath. We don't know how to breathe. We're breathing as crazy
Very
adults out there
short.
in the warp speed world when little babies do it naturally. You know, their little tummies are bouncing up and down. You teach that type of breathing with yoga. That there's a way
Yes.
to breathe with yoga.
It's the attention to the breath primarily, which brings people into understanding sort of the role of an observer. So
Right.
can you live your life not just as the participant in the game of life, but
Right.
also the observer, and sort of stepping back from that experience and really, oh, like, there's my breath.
Yeah.
There's a beautiful woman in front of me. There's some flat, like really kind of, and so breath is very often used because it's the easiest way and the most accessible way to get part of a natural rhythm.
Right.
Right? Your body should be doing that whether or not you realize it.
How popular is yoga with gay couples and
With
couples?
gay couples,
Yeah.
Honestly, a
When-
lot of the men that come to our yoga class come as singles.
Right. But
Even if they're part of a couple, very often I find the way that pairings work for whatever reason is one of them is into it,
Right.
and the other one isn't, and comes more hesitantly than the other.
but wants to
whatever
come
reason.
because they're interested in what their partner wants to learn.
Yeah,
and they wanna-
or very often our yogi bears will come. Yeah, someone will come up to me and be like, "I really want my partner to do this. I really love this session," and then they show up the next time, and then they both come up to me and they're
Right.
like, "We really love this." So, especially when we do the tantric yoga with massage, so where we move from some yoga movements that build up the sexual energy then into touch.
Right.
That's people quite enjoy that and don't get that a lot.
I understand a little bit about Kama Sutra, and
Yes.
it can be in the moment of that position when you're actually making love with your partner. Do you demonstrate or simulate some of these Kama
Oh,
Sutras?
like sexual acts of some kind?
Positions
or?
of yoga as a Kama Sutra position.
No, we haven't explored that, and I think part of my hesitation is that it would be great to have people that are more experienced. So I'm coming into yoga
Right.
relatively new with 3 or 4 years experience. I don't teach myself, I hire instructors.
Right.
And many of my instructors are younger.
Right.
And so I'm not comfortable in providing anything that I'm not yet well versed in.
Would it be something that you think you might want to
I'd love
introduce?
to, yeah.
Because it doesn't
Or
have
get
to be. You're not having couples engaging in that
No, but it's also educational.
going inside their partner and stuff like that. But
Yeah.
simulate it, because I think partners want to know how to embrace that moment of that embracing. There's many different positions, and that they can
Yeah.
become a yoga, where
Of
you
a
can learn
type?
to breathe together in that position.
Yeah. Well, and that's what Tantra and the sexual exploration of Tantra gets into.
Right.
It gets into breathing in rhythm and creating kind of that bond with
So
the other
basically, the introductory of Tantra that you have at the center is based on just breathing, initial breathing with the Tantra mindfulness of just breathing together as a couple. That's as far as you
person.
take
And touch.
it. And touch.
There's touch.
I love touch.
So we have Tantra workshops that
touch.
work into.
You know what? I could go on and on with this topic. I got to wrap this up. It was
Okay.
really great having you
Nice
here
talking to you
today.
too.
We'll be in touch really shortly. Great. Enjoy the rain. It's beautiful here.
I know, it
We'll
is
be right back.
gorgeous.
Thank you so much for watching, and be sure to join me next time.